So thank you so much everyone for giving me this opportunity to present my paper, present my thoughts on the best strategies to prevent ransomware. As we all know, ransomware has been something which has been there in the noise for quite some time, and we all would have heard about the recent attack which has happened on a major IT services organization, which has actually impacted not only the organization in itself, but also has impacted its customer. So it's very important that while we are talking about this subject, it's very important that we need to understand the origination of this entire attack surface, where it is started from, how it has evolved over a period of time, and what are the best ways in terms of what, as an individual, as an organization, what we need to do in order to prevent such attacks impacting our organization, because each of these attacks brings a lot of cost, and have a reputational impact to the organization. So it's very important that in order to ensure that we are not victim of such kind of an attacks, we should have sufficient set of controls there in the organization, as well as individually, as an individual, while we are using computer systems in our at our homes. It's important that we ensure that we have these sufficient set of controls in place in order to tackle such scenarios. uh, as we all know, ransomware is something like a malware, which has been there, not since today, but has been there since ages. So if you have to talk about what is, if you have to understand about what is a ransomware, ransomware is basically a malware which actually locks your system. And once you have been logged out of your system of files, you are being asked to pay a ransom against your documents or your system, so that you are able to re-access them. So that is the entire objective of a ransomware attacks. So if we have to understand, ransomware is basically a cyber extortion kind of an attack. There are generally two kind of attacks which comes under the cyber extortion. One is the ransomware and the other one is the DOS attack. So the ransomware is one of them, which is actually classified under the cyber extortion. So it is very important that as an individual, as an organization, uh, we understand the laws and the incident response plans which have been defined in order to cater through such kind of an attacks. Today, ransomware is not only impacting the corporates, and as well as it is actually impacting the individuals as well. So it could be anybody who could be a victim of that. The basic methodology that has been followed is to send some of the exploits either through an email, or it's available over a website, and then somebody install it onto your system, or you yourself click on some of the unauthorized links which you should not be clicking, and basis which you are able to install some of those. So you have to very categorically understand that which are those websites, and which are actually have the reason why this is critical in today's world is that, as we all know, data is the new oil in the given scenario. Today, everything what you are working upon, you using, have some kind of an associated value to that particular data. For an example, if I am working in a healthcare industry and I have a PHI information, each of these information within the dark web carries some kind of a value, because this is that the attackers or the hackers try to misuse some of those information in order to gain advantage of it, out of it. So and similarly, the same is applicable for the banking industry also, or any of the other organization which could be into the software domain, because if in case their source code or their any of the new software that they are working upon, or they are in a progress of actually developing something which is a niche in their domain, which is called as intellectual property rights for that organization. If it goes to their competitors or to any of their, anyone who is not required to have access to that information before, even before it has been published, it could bring a lot of competition for that organization, or it can actually leak some of the information, or somebody may actually launch some of the new products similar to the features that are there already, which you are looking forward for launching into the market before even if you think about putting it into the market. So that is the reason why it's very important that as an individual, as an organization, you have to protect your data which you are having on your systems. The important question which always lies against any of the ransomware attacks is that, do you think that your data, you are going to get your data back after paying the ransom? So that's a very important question that lies. And in the subsequent slides, we will look at some of the statistics to understand and see how some of the organizations across the globe have actually used some of have actually used the have actually gone ahead and either paid the amount or not. So that is something which we may have to see, we'll see in the subsequent slides. Uh, Going back to the history on the ransomware attack, the first ransomware attack actually is initiated in the year 1989, and it was known as AIDS. Uh, the attacker basically used a floppy disk in order to spread this virus. The victim were asked to pay using a post office box, which was in Panama, in order to pay for it. And they, for each of the victims who were targeted, they were requested to pay at least $189 for their system of files to get decrypted. So that is where the ransomware has started in from a history standpoint. So I think it's very important as an individual, as a corporate, to understand where it has evolved and where it has started happening. So it's something which is not very new, has been happening since ages. Some of the key ransomware attacks that we would have seen lately are around Reviten, CryptoLocker, WannaCry for that matter, and the latest one has been Maze, which we all would have heard about from the latest from this IT services organization standpoint. Coming to the next slide, which is on the payouts. If you see realistically, since the year 2017 to 2020, you will see a drastic increase in the average ransom which has been demanded. So in 2017, where the request has generally been that you have to deposit close to $600 per attack, it has now increased to almost like $1,900 per ransomware attack. Why there has been a sudden increase is this? Because uh, people have started storing some of the confidential information, proprietary information on their machines, on their servers, which are very critical from their business perspective, because it is of paramount important, which is paramount important because they have those confidential informations which are there. They might have their intellectual property, they might have some of the PHI or a PII, and then also to safeguard themselves against the nuances of reputational damages, regulatory obligations you have to disclose. It's important. So you, in order to protect against those, it's always better that we pay out and get my data back instead of somebody posting it over the internet and it get disclosed out to the larger masses across the globe that following organization data has been put onto the internet. And this will severely impact their brand as an organization uh, and their reputational. Like the other example that we were talking about, the IT services organization. So if you see realistically, after that, the news of this organization getting impacted with Raise ransomware hit the market, there has been a lot of hue and cry on the uh, on a lot of their customers coming back to the organization, or started questioning the entire control framework for the organization. So organization would obviously prefer not to get into a similar kind of a situation where their brand reputational is at stake. And because of this brand, their customers confidence also get a little shaken up, and that may have an impact on the new set of businesses which are coming for the organization. If you see on the right hand side, you'll see that some of the large organizations have actually gone ahead and paid humongous amount of money for on this ransomware attacks which they would have faced. So if you see Jackson Company from Georgia, it has gone ahead and paid almost like $400,000 from a ransomware standpoint, compared to what has been there in Nayana, where you could almost like $1 million. So let's move on to the next slide, where we are going to talk about on the types of ransomware. So predominantly, there are three significant types of ransomware that uh, we have seen over a period of time. One is the crypto ransomware, the other is the locker ransomware, and the third one is the master boot record ransomware. When we talk about crypto ransomware, the objective of crypto ransomware is basically to encrypt your personal files. So the objective of this ransomware is not to target all of your files, but it may choose to specify some of the file formats like PDF, MP3, MP4, doc, XLS, for that as an example. And it may impact either only those files, or it may impact some of your other files also. So it is upon the attacker's discretion in order to identify which of the file format they are going to really encrypt those. Uh, if you go back to the history of crypto ransomware, this ransomware actually first appeared in the year 2013. The mechanism or methodology by which this ransomware generally spreads is through use of malicious email, or again, as we talked about, through the exploits which are either there on the websites or it's sent through the instant messengers. So either could be the mechanism through which these malwares have been sent to your systems. The other important thing is that as we were talking about the encryption of these files and the processes, it's not only the files that can get encrypted under the crypto ransomware, but also your mounted network drives can get encrypted. The basic encryption algorithm that is largely been used for in the crypto ransomware is the RSA public key. So RSA is basically the cryptographic algorithm that is being generally used in terms of encrypting the files. If you have to understand the complete methodology as to how the ransomware actually works in the crypto ransomware uh, context, the personal files are encrypted using your RSA public key cryptography. So RSA public key algorithm is used in terms of encrypting a file, and the private key is generally been managed through your malware control server. So the wherever your malware control server, which is generally called as the command and control server, uh, there you would see that your private key is generally stored. One of the key objective of this crypto ransomware is that uh, these attacks have a specified deadline. So let's say if in case you are a victim of this attack onto your personal files, you will have a timeline specified that within 72 hours or within 30 hours you have to do the payment. If in case you fail to do the payment within the stipulated deadline, then these file might be made available to you, but at a more higher cost. So that is how they generally play. So the hackers generally use the methodology in terms of really encrypting the file. And again, it is up to the organization or the individual discretion. What is the best alternate mechanism do they want to really follow? Either they want to pay for that against the attack, or you want to actually go back, reboot your system, and you already have a backup in place, and basis which you would like to recover the files. The second piece of the ransomware attack, which is very important, is called as the locker ransomware. The objective of locker ransomware is to actually encrypt your entire operating system or application. So unlike what we have seen in the crypto ransomware, where the objective was only to encrypt certain file types, here in the locker ransomware you would see that uh, it is encrypting your entire operating system or application. So let's say if in case you are going to log into your system using your username and password, the moment you enter your username and password, you would see a window pop up which is on the right hand side of this presentation, and you would see that you're not able to further move ahead, and it's asking you to pay the ransom. So that is how generally the methodology how the Locker ransomware works. So uh, it may not only be the operating system, but it could also be at an application level. So if in case you are using some of the critical application in your organization, which may be performing some kind of an important function for you as an organization, maybe it could be a HRMS system, or it could be something like a ERP which you might be using it, and the hacker may use that application as a base where they would inject the malware onto that particular application, and then your application becomes infected, and any user who is trying to log into that particular application, they are not able to use it further. The third type of uh, ransomware that has all been seen in the market is which is called as master boot record ransomware. Master boot record, if we have to understand, it is basically a section in your computer hard drive which is generally been used to boot up your operating system. So the attackers have today found a mechanism where they can modify your MBR, and basis that MBR modification, they can actually interrupt your normal boot up process of your operating system. So even before you start, so largely we would have seen that there has been blue dump, which I understand that many of you would have seen blue dump coming onto your machines. Similarly, either a blue dump kind of a screen comes but with a different message, or it could be a black screen which may comes up onto the user's machine, and you might see something which is very similar and demonstrated in the presentation here. Sorry. The next one, so let's understand how the ransomware has impacted the countries and the operating systems which are there. So if you see the two comparatives which we have created on the slide, it talks about the set of countries, the top 10 countries who have been the victim of a crypto ransomware, and top 10 countries who have been victim of the Locker ransomware. If you see, largely US has been on top of the list for both of them, whereas from a crypto ransomware and Locker ransomware, in both of the charts you would see US being listed on the top, is ranked as number 1 under the attack. Japan, for that matter, with crypto ransomware follows the second. However, if you see in from the Locker ransomware, the second you would see generally is Germany. From the top 10 countries which we have picked it up, Germany falls to be the number 2 under the Locker ransomware attack. Similarly, UK follows as number 3, and even in this list from a Locker ransomware, UK follow as now the number on the 3rd position. According to a recorded future report, while the US is accounted for 53% of all the ransomware attacks which has happened between Q2 and 2018 and Q2 2019, Americans are still being the number 1 victim in the year 2020 also. Followed by Canada and United coming, which is expected to come 2nd and 3rd respectively. The operating systems, so if you have to see, none of the industry verticals today have been are there which who have not got impacted with this ransomware. The local governments, the healthcare, manufacturing, even finance for that matter. So any of the industrial verticals, if you have to talk about, they all have been impacted. The larger have been obviously the government agencies. So because they carry a lot of critical informations like your PII, for that matter, your financial information, they are involved into running a lot of schemes and programs for the groups and the people across your country. So they are the larger victims of these, because they have a lot of programs, including a lot of infrastructure related programs that they are running for their uh, for the citizens across their country. So they are the number one who are impacted, followed by healthcare, because they have a lot of PHI data in the dark web. PHI carries a lot of importance. They have a lot of value there, followed by manufacturing, because of uh, they have a lot of intellectual property rights that we were talking about initially, because they might be involved into creating some of the product and product which may carry a lot of features and functionalities which which will be very important from the citizen or their particular local geography standpoint. It would be of paramount important for them. So that is where it carries a lot of importance. They are the third one or the fourth one to be the victim of such kind of an. And obviously finance, the banking and financial sector for that matter are all obviously the ones who are getting impacted. The most numbers, if you see the percentage in terms of the operating system where the impact of ransomware has largely been seen, you would see that Windows related systems have been the largest. So if you have to compare the entire of the Windows, if you see the percentage, you would see somewhere around close to 40. So that has been the impact overall from a Windows operating system standpoint. So they are the ones who have been the prime target, and that is because of either we have not been patching the system Windows systems effectively. Either there is a delay in terms of getting the patch released from the OEMs, or number of other factors which we as a process related that we generally see from a Windows standpoint, or the system or the operating system would have got obsolete and we still been using that. So there are a number of reasons which are there associated with Windows system, which has largely been the reason why we have seen them as the largest attack surface. So that is something which we carefully see. If in case we as an organization or as an individual are using some of the Windows system, and we see that we have still using some of the XP and Windows 8 and 7 as the version in our organization, so I think it's high time that we should start looking at upgrading the patches on those systems. Uh, we'll talk more in detail while we'll move to the next slides where we would be talking about the preventive strategy. But I think while we are here on this slide where we are talking about the impact on the operating system, I think I thought it's important that we should talk about the importance of patching. If you see realistically, the Linux and the Android machines are comparatively less impacted with only 1 for percentage for Linux, Android, and the iOS. Mac is so 3% of the Mac OS is actually getting impacted in the overall the profile. So I think where this question of actually that Mac is not vulnerable to attacks, I think slowly and slowly that thought process for individuals have started moving off now, because we have started seeing some kind of an attack uh, happening on the Mac operating systems. The next slide is something which we are going to talk about the evolution of the ransomware. So if in case, as we were discussing, that the first ransomware that we have seen was in 1989, followed by the first version of the CryptoLocker, which emerged in the year 2013. And today, we all know that over a period of time, over these years, the ransomware attacks have evolved. So if I have to talk about the history, and if I have to just do a quick walk down from where we started and where we are, we'll see that the first ransomware which impacted in 1989. After that, there has been a lot. After that, quite for a while, we have not heard anything from a ransomware attack. The after 1989, the next attack which was heard was in 2005. where some modern crypto ransomware, which is an AIDS Trojan attack, which was released in May 2005. Then followed by the spread of Trojan Cryzip, which started in March 2006, followed by 2007, where it's have seen that Locker ransomware have emerged. In 2013, first version of Crypto Locker was emerged. Uh, the target was largely the companies and individual by sending email and phishing attack. Uh, in the year 2017, we heard about this WannaCry, which infected almost like 300,000 machines across the globe, uh, largely in the Windows computer, and it was spread across almost like 150 countries. That has been the devastation that has happened in the year 2017. So if you have to talk about 2017 was actually the year when most of the industry mates, the cybersecurity professionals and the analysts actually started following some of those ransomware attacks on a real-time scenario. Uh, Today, if we have to talk about in the year 2020, we see that almost 3/4 of ransomware attacks has resulted in data being encrypted. So 51% of the organization have been hit by ransomware last year. So almost like 51% of the organization which are working out, they have largely been seen as been impacted by ransomware last year. So if in case if you see that on those 51% of the organization who was hit by ransomware last year, 26% of the organization actually have gone ahead and paid for that ransom. And out of those 26% of the organization which has paid for that ransom, 94% of the organization got their data back. But still, there were those 6% of the organization who have not received their data. So I think these are important stats which we need to keep into mind while we are actually willing to pay that. So it might or might not, so even if you have thought about paying for that ransomware attack, you still might not get that data. So that is something which you have to be very cautious about. I think that was an important slide which we wanted to talk about, because this is how the entire evolution of ransomware has happened over a period of time. An important thing that we need to understand is how does ransomware actually enter into your device. So generally there are two methods through which you may see that ransomware is coming onto your machines. One is that through a phishing email, where somebody whom you might not know would have just explicitly sent you an email to your particular domain, official email, or to your personal email, and would have requested you to go to some particular link and then click on that. So that could be one of the ways, or where you might see some of the ransomware getting into your organization or your individual machines. The second could be that you would have visited some of the website which may have such kind of malware already available. So the moment you try to download some of the file from the website, the malware may automatically get installed onto your local machine, or somebody whom you don't know would have sent you an instant message over, let's say, a Gtalk or Yahoo or Skype for that matter, and you would have clicked on that link, and that would have resulted in the installation of that malware onto your machine. Or through an email, or somebody would have sent you intentionally, would have attached an exe file onto your email, or would have embedded into a PDF document or into a Word document, which you would have clicked knowingly, because it might look legitimate from your personal reasons or from your official reasons, but it would have been embedded with some of these malwares within that, which would have automatically got installed onto your local machine. So these are generally the two methods which are used in terms of installing the ransomware. The next slide that we are going to talk about is how ransomware is spread. I think we have already discussed on this, so we may like to skip this slide, but because it generally explains the process, how the ransomware spread. So once it has impacted one of your system and the file is there, so let's say if in case there is a file which is of importance and that file already carries a malware within that, and you have to send it to your friends, or it has to be sent to your colleagues in the organization, and you would have sent it automatically, it would result in installation of those ransomware and file onto your colleagues or to your friends machines also. So that is how the ransomware spreads to begin. uh, the next slide that we are going to talk about is on the ransomware methods. So as we were talking, the slide before the previous one, where we talked about the phishing attack, this is how it generally works. So uh, and it could be somebody who would send you some information in terms of get, so phishing email might come to you where you might be asked to provide your personal information, or you may be requested to share your some login credentials or debit card details. So this is generally the phishing email, how it operates. The second is the use of the exploit kits. So that is something which we already have discussed, so we'll not get too much into details here, and would like to move on to the next slide very quickly. uh, the next slide is on the ransomware family. So this is how the evolution of ransomware has happened over a period of time. If you see, there are several versions of ransomwares which are there. So Petya, CryptoLocker, WannaCry, Locky, Bad Rabbit. So these are all part of the same ransomware family. I think the next slide is a very important is very important because as we were talking about that, not only the individuals are impacted with these ransomware, the corporates at the same time are impacted. It could be either a home users, because largely the home user do not install any kind of an antivirus or any kind of a malware protection onto their devices, and they are the prime targets for the attacker, because uh, you might not be willing to actually be updating your operating system, or they might be using the pirated version of the operating system. So these are primary factors which may result um, uh, home users to be the prime target of a ransomware attack. The second is normal mobile phone users. So Android, as you would know, Android phones are largely been the one who are primarily infected with a lot of new set of malwares, and on a day-to-day basis, you will keep on hearing that Android versions are vulnerable to attacks. So the attackers have basically found a methodology where they are using these Android and the Android versions in terms of putting on the malwares onto these kinds of devices, which may actually take control of your mobile phone, and then you could be a victim of ransomware attack. This third is organization. Obviously, as we all know, organizations are getting impacted with this ransomware attack because of the fact that they carry a lot of information, PII, PHI, PFI information within their systems. So, and these informations are of critical importance, not from an organizational standpoint, but also from an individual standpoint. There are several regulations out there like HIPAA, GLBA, DPA for that matter, which are there to protect the individual's information and the privacy of those information. So it's important that as an organization we should have sufficient set of controls there in place so that we are remain protected against that. Uh, how to basically uh, bypass a ransomware attack? So this slide basically talks about the four-phased approach in order to uh, ensure that we are not uh, are a victim of a ransomware attack. So the first thing is that you should be able to predict. By predict, what we mean is that we should be able to identify the that either I am going to be one of the victim of that ransomware, and to that you have to start monitoring the suspicious behavior on your system. So if in case you see that while you are trying to move your mouse to a file, your mouse is automatically moving on to some other file. Or you may also do that by frequently checking the processes. So by using the on the horizontal window pane which is there into your system, you may like to go back and see the processes which are running onto your system. And if you see that any of the suspicious processes are running onto your system, that you may would like to investigate what are those processes that are running onto your system. As an individual, it's important that we periodically go and monitor those, because that will help in terms of us in terms of protecting your own system. I think that's one which you can really look forward for. The second is that you may use some kind of a behavior analysis tools. There are free behavior analytics tools which are there, which you may like to install onto your system and see and analyze what are those suspicious behavior, which uh, it might not be necessary that you may be able to understand from day one, but you might like to spend some good amount of time in terms of understanding some of those pieces and accordingly work on that. You would also like to review some of the program settings. So while you are installing some of the softwares onto your machine, you might like to see what all permissions are they talking about. So let's say if in case I am an Android user and I am installing some of the application onto my mobile phone. These applications, while you install, they ask for a lot of permissions to your GPS settings. They might like to read your SMSs. They might like to read your mails and other things. So you would be very categorically be looking forward of evaluating those, understanding does that require uh, actually require that particular application actually requires an access to so many permissions. So something of that sort you would like to see. uh, you have to have a lot of awareness. So you should be aware that and you should know that what are those key security aspects which you as an individual need to follow in terms of protecting your organization and your individual systems. So it's something of that, something that you need to really look over, and that is something which we are going to discuss in some of the subsequent slides, where we are going to talk about what is that you as an individual, as an organization, what are those controls that you should monitor or implement so that you are well protected against such kind of an attacks. The second piece is that once you are able to identify that you are going to be a victim of ransomware attack, uh, the second is that how you are going to prevent yourself. So the prevention could be using multi-layered security software. So you may like to use uh, a firewall which is deployed onto your perimeter network. You may like to review the routers and the switches configurations which are there on which has been put onto the perimeter. You would like to see the endpoint security controls. You might like to install a host-based intrusion detection system. You may like to install anti-malware software onto your machines. You might like to deploy antiviruses onto your machines. You may look forward of having some kind of an EDR related software or solutions onto your machine. So that these are the set of security software that you may look at both at your perimeter level as well as at your endpoint level, where you would like to basically implement those controls. Uh, Today, earlier when we used to talk about almost like 5-7 years back, it was always said that perimeter is the gateway to your organization network. But today that concept has changed. Today perimeter is no longer the entry point for organization network. However, it is the endpoint. So the endpoint today are vulnerable to lot of attacks. So if in case, and with this COVID situation which is there, most of us are working from home in the given scenario. And today, because of working from home, a lot of the organization set of controls which were deployed onto the organization network infrastructure, they might not practically be applicable onto your machines which you are using from home. Because it might be a possibility that the website which we used to get restricted from office, you are today able to open that using your official system from home. And in general, most of the cases, yes. uh, and if in case you are opening some of these vulnerable sites which may have some kind of malwares or some, you are surely to be getting impacted. The second important piece to prevent is that you should look at undergoing some kind of a training which is on ethical hacking and network defense, so that you are well prepared from the concepts of how an attack happens onto your endpoint or to your organization network infrastructure, so that you can adequately put a lot of protection mechanism in place. uh, the third piece is that you should ensure that all critical system which carries important data, which may, if in case you lose as an organization, may have an impact to you, you should ensure that you have adequate backup mechanisms in place, and each of these backups are kept at a offsite location and are tested periodically. Another important concept which we have talked about in the past during our discussion is that we should patch any of the installed software. So if in case you have installed any kind of a any software which may carries some version, so you should go back and check if there has been a latest update to that version of the software or not. I think on the detect piece, again, behavior analysis is important, that you should see for what kind of a suspicious behavior if in on your systems or on your organization network. Identify the damage which has happened, or identify resources which may get impacted because of this attack. So let's say if in case you are a victim of ransomware attack in your organization, what are those associated systems who may actually be part of that particular VLAN which may get impacted? And as part of my response mechanism, I would like to do a forensic review, or I would like to reformat the machines completely end to end, and would like to run some kind of a malware free programs which could actually help me in terms of determining whether there is any kind of a malware which is installed onto this machine. Similarly, as we talked about the from a response mechanism, we should immediately as we know that there is a ransomware attack, we should immediately disconnect the machines from the local area network, scan the systems to identify if in case there are any malwares which are there deployed on those machines, rerun and rerun the programs to re-identify. Even if you have scanned and formatted the devices or systems, please rerun the scan in order to identify if in case any traces of the malware are still left onto the machines. uh, and once you are up and running, even before you again push it into the production, it's again recommended that you should rerun the program in terms of identify in case any more traces are still remaining onto the. I think we have covered some of these pieces in the previous slide, but I would again like to rerun. So important thing is that you should ensure that the antivirus software remains, so that version of your antivirus software remains updated at all time. There is no anything which is later than delayed more than n-2 or n-3, that should be your stopwatch. So if you should ensure that any system which is not updated n-2, that should be under your radar and mechanism where you are alerted around that. Ensure that your firewall ACLs are periodically reviewed. So ensure that you do a periodic ACL review to identify there are no open gateways which are left into your organization network. Uh, all softwares you should get updated on a periodic basis. So that's an important the thing which you need to keep into mind. Another important aspect is again, and which is the most critical among all, is that you should ensure that you have the adequate set of data backup for all your critical systems, and you have the defined BCP and DR recovery strategies for all your critical servers. And then you are maintaining the copies of each of these information at secured location, so that at the time when you need to retrieve those information, you are able to uh, do that effectively and within the stipulated time. Uh, One important thing that you should also be taking into account is that you are periodically testing your backups, so that you are aware that while your data has been transported and kept at an offsite location, uh, there are effective mechanisms where these tapes are in a working condition, and you are able to recover that uh, within recover that as per your requirement. Uh, Phishing is one of a very critical aspect for any organization. So a lot of organizations have been victim to phishing attacks. So it's important, as part of your user awareness program or as part of your simulation testing, you ensure that your employees in the organization understand the importance of which email to open and which email not to open. So as part of your learning and development program for the organization, you should ensure that you provide adequate training to your employees, where they are able to understand how to validate the sender's email. So they should look forward to identify how they can do that. Even there is uh, even they should also be able to identify if in case it's coming from a legitimate domain. Any email, so you can also use some kind of a whitelisting technology, where you are only allowing certain domains to come into your network uh, as part of your email group. So that is something which you can also do in terms of general preventive measures. uh, the Another important point is that while you are receiving the attachments, please ensure that you are not opening any unwanted emails, and any links which you could see which has been there part of the email is a legitimate link. So we have often seen that while you receive a link onto your email, which may prompt you to take it to some of your legitimate business reason, for some of the legitimate business reason, but it may also happen that while you start scrolling on those links, you may see that this, instead of going to that particular organization from where that email has come, it is taking to some malicious link. So you have to be very careful even before you click on any of such links. One thing which is obviously recommended is that you should disable macros on files. So any file which you are opening or it is coming to you, you are disabling macros on that. And patching is again a very critical aspect, which we have already talked about, that your systems and applications should get patched periodically, and you should have a well-devised program in place where you are patching your systems. The next slide is going to be on the similar lines. However, we are going to talk a little more in terms of uh, uh, cover some of the pieces in at a very high level, so that we are able to uh, uh, have a more focused approach towards the tackling of this ransomware attacks. So as we talked about, education and information plays a very critical aspect. So if whichever industry or vertical we are involved into, we should ensure that we have sufficient set of programs running in the organization which could help our employees and the users, or even the third party contractors in the organization, aware about the critical attacks which may have an impact to them. So so that they can understand some of these attacks in a little more in detail, and could wisely take decisions while they are able to see that and view that attacks happening onto their local machines. Uh, for the cybersecurity analysts, it's important that they should undertake some of the cybersecurity related certification or programs, so that they can gain the required set of knowledge in terms of defending themselves against the attacks, and can also ensure that they are able to tackle the ransomware attack on a real time basis. The second, again, important strategy, which is very critical from a ransomware standpoint, is, and then if in case you have failed to implement this control, I am sure that you are going to face a lot of challenges there, which is again backup. Backup is very important. So as we are backing up our data and the configurations onto a tape or to any of the SaaS or NAS systems in our organization, or to any of the organization, any third-party organizations who are providing some similar kind of services, or to our backup locations, or to an disaster recovery location, is important that we should be able to periodically test them, so that we are able to understand and see that whether these systems and data are in a operating condition, and if in case that it is required at a later point of time, we are able to recover it back. The next is that you have to understand the risk. So understanding the risk which may have an impact to your organization is very critical. So you should ensure that you run a risk assessment program across your organization to identify that to each of the risk, what are your set of threats and vulnerabilities which may have an impact to that particular risk, and how they can be exploited, in order so that you can devise the right set of controls and the mitigation strategies against those risks. Another important aspect that while we are talking about some of these pieces like education, backups, risk assessment, policies plays a very critical role, because uh, that are the actually mandate which helps the organization to drive the control framework in the organization. In the absence of policies, you will not be able to follow to the T of the requirements. So it's important that you devise the policies, have that approved from the senior management, and have it floated across the organization, so the users and the employees and the third party employees in your organization understand the critical aspects on in these policies, and able to comply to that. And very important, I think this is, which is very critical and very important, like backup, that while you are receiving any of the emails from any XYZ source which you might not be aware about, or are suspicious in nature, please ensure that you validate that, look at them very carefully, ensure that only from the expected recipient you are opening up the email. Anything which is coming as part of an executable or a zip file as an attachment into your along with that email, and you are a little suspicious about the sender of that email, please be very cautious in terms of opening it up. Here are some of the tools that you may use in terms of combating the ransomware attack. Paybreaks, Sealed FS, and Redemption. These are basically cryptographic tools. So these are tools basically which are used in terms of combating the ransomware. I am not going to harp on these tools because there are other multi tools which can help you in terms of really combating the ransomware, and it is again your discretion in terms of really looking at some of these pieces and identifying what is the best set of solution. But these are some of our recommendations which you can really use in terms of implementing for the organization. But again, it's upon the organization discretion and decision in terms of the best set of tools that they would like to adopt for their organization. As we were talking about that, some of those preventive measures strategies talked about, I think implementing something like an ISO 27000 control framework in your organization would obviously help in terms of tackling. some of these problems, because ISO actually helps you in terms of devising the right set of policies, processes, and framework across your organization, which could help in terms of meeting the desired processes which you would have defined. So there are a lot of domains within ISO 27001 which are which maps to some of the requirements which we have talked about in the prevention strategy, which you as an individual can implement in your organization, or at your home you may follow some of the best practices that are defined against on those requirements to protect your system and your organization network. uh, I think with that, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my thoughts on the subject. But if you have any questions, I am free. I'll be happy to answer that. Thank you.